All right, trapezoids practice, odd numbers. So all of these trapezoids have a line that's going through kind of like the middle-ish, and so, or the middle. So we call that the mid segment. And the way to figure out how long the mid segment is, you add the bases and divide them by 2. And in a trapezoid, this is a base, this is a base. So you can call that base 1 and base 2, or you can call the top one base 2, it doesn't matter. And then across the middle is the mid segment. And of course, since it's in the middle, you know that these two parts are congruent. And, these two parts are congruent, and these two parts are congruent. Okay, so number 1, we're going to add 32 and 18 and divide them by 2, and then that'll equal the mid segment MN. So 32 plus 18 is 50, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. So MN equals 25. Number 2, you can try that one on your own. You can pause the video and try it right now. It's just like number 1. All right, moving on to number 3. ABCD is a trapezoid, find DC. So same thing, but the difference now is that we have a missing side. So if you want, I didn't do this for number 1, but I could have put an X instead of MN. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and put an X. So we're going to have 96 plus X divided by 2 equals 88. So we set it up the same way. Add one base to the other, divide it by 2, and it's going to equal the mid-segment. Okay, and so honestly, you can just type that into your calculator. For end solve, I'll show you how to do that one time. I don't want to waste too much time doing that. Oh my goodness, struggling. Okay. Okay, so we have end solve, and that's going to be 96. Well, I'll do it with the fraction. So 96 plus X over 2 equals 88, comma X, and hit enter. And we get 80. Okay, so that's going to be 80 equals X, or X equals 80. All right, so basically DC equals 80, so we put the 80 right there. And then in this case, this was 25. All right, so you don't have to put an X, but I think that's probably just the best way to go to keep it simple. Number 4, you can try that one on your own. You can pause the video real quick and give it a shot. It's the same exact process, so you should be good. All right, so let's go to number 5. All right, so this time we're taking it up a notch because now we're introducing an actual variable. So we're going to set this up the exact same way. I'm going to do the top base, so 10x plus 22, plus the bottom base, 4x plus 22 over 2 equals 78, the mid segment. So I'm setting it up the same way. It looks weird because there's x's everywhere, but it's the same thing. Okay, so now you can type this into your calculator. So I'll do one more. I know I said I was only going to do it once, but this one looks a little scarier, I guess. Okay, so for this one we have 10x plus 22 plus 4x plus 22. And, ah, shucks, I should have put that in a fraction. Let me go back and do that. Over 2 equals 78 comma x. All right, so we get 25.5. Oh, made a mistake. Let me do this one more time. It's like that's not right. Okay, sorry, that should be 10x. Okay, try that one more time. All right, so we get 8. That's better. All right, so in this case, we get x equals 8. Now, 8 is not the answer that we're looking for. We're looking for A, B, and D, C. So guess what? You got to plug it in. So we're going to have 10x. Sorry, 10 times 8 plus 22. That's going to be 102. Then we have 4 times 8 plus 22. Which is going to be, what's that, 54? So we get 102 and 54. Okay, let's just double checking that one. Okay, so that's 102 and 54. Okay, so moving on. So number 6 is just like number 5. So you can just set it up the same, use n solve, and go from there. All right, for number 7, the setup is the same. Add the 2 bases. So we have 6x plus 120 plus 2x minus 16 divided by 2 equals the mid segment, which is 8x minus 8. Okay, so you can use nsolve to solve this. Now, if you are interested in solving it by hand, pay close attention. I'm about to do that right now. So if you want to solve this thing by hand, then you can get rid of that 2 in the denominator by multiplying both sides of this thing by 2. So that's going to cancel out the 2's. And over here, you're going to have to distribute the 2. So that's going to be 6x. So that basically gets the numerator by itself, right? So that's 6x plus 120 plus 2x minus 16 equals 16x minus 16. So don't forget, you have to multiply the 2 by 8x and the 2 by -8. Okay, and then you just solve it like a normal equation, combining like terms. We get 8x plus 104 equals 16x minus 16. And then we can take 8 away from both, take 8x away from both sides. So that'll be 104 equals 8x minus 16. Add 16 to both sides, and that'll give us 120 equals 8x. And then divide both sides by 8. What's 120 divided by 8? 15, okay, so that's going to be 15 equals x. So you don't have to do all that. You can just use nsolve. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to plug it back in. So for this one, it's going to be 6 times 15 plus 120. And that should be 210. And then for this one, that's going to be 8 times 15 minus 8. And that'll be 112. And then we have 2 times 15 minus 16, which I believe is 14. And there we go. Okay. So that is that. And I'm just checking my work real quick, which is what I've been doing, by adding together the two bases and dividing it by 2 to make sure it equals the right thing. So I added these two together and I divided them by 2 to make sure it equals 112. All right, go ahead and get number 8 a try. Again, you don't have to do all those steps. You can just set up the equation and use and solve. All right, so now that you've hopefully tried number 8 on your own, let's do number 9. All right, so this time we have these diagonals in the trapezoid. So AD is here, and then BC is here. All right, and so we can see that both of those diagonals are congruent to each other because this is an isosceles trapezoid. And we could just tell that because of these 2 markings right there. So since it's isosceles, those diagonals are congruent. So this is a part equals part problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and set this thing up. All right, type it in and solve. And see what you get. I'm going to solve it real quick here. All right, and I get 13, so I'm going to check to make sure that's right by plugging it back into both of these and making sure that they're equal. So we got 4 times 13 plus 4. Okay, and that's going to be 56. And then we have 2 times 13, which is 26, plus 30 is 56. So I'm good. I did both of those correctly since I got the same thing. All right, so now, let's see, it just asked for AD, so that's just the one that was at the top. So that was 56. Moving on, number 10. So number 10 is just like that, okay? So do the same thing for number 10, just like number 9. Try it on your own. Number 11, ABCD is a trapezoid. Find the measurement of all angles. Okay. Now this is an isosceles trapezoid because, again, we have those 2 markings to show us that the sides are equal. So another thing we know is that A is equal to B, angle A is equal to angle B, angle C is equal to angle D. That's how isosceles trapezoids work. So this is going to be a part equals part problem since A and B are supposed to be congruent to each other. So let's go ahead and set this up. We got the 6x plus 26 equals 9x minus 1. Okay, go ahead and type that into and solve. See what you get. I'm going to solve it real quick here. Okay, so I get 9, for x. And I'm just going to go plug it back in. So that's going to be 6 times 9 plus 26. So we get 80. And then we're going to have 9 times 9 minus 1, which is also 80. All right, so both of those angles are 80. So 8 is 80 degrees. B is 80 degrees. All right, cool. Now, another thing to note is that, okay, so for a triangle, all the angles add up to 180. For a quadrilateral, for a 4-sided shape, all the angles add up to 360. So we can tackle this 2 different ways. So you could be like, okay, let me just add up 80 plus 80, subtract that from 360, and then divide that by 2. And then that'll give me C and D. Another way you can approach it is by saying, okay, well, angle A and angle C are supplementary. If I add them up, it'll equal 180 because it's half of the trapezoid, so to speak. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to do 180 minus 80, and that's 100. So angle C is 100 degrees, and angle D is 100 degrees. Okay, so you could have done it that way or with a 360. All right, so if we take a look over here at number 12, same thing. So go ahead and give that a shot right now. Okay, number 13. ABCD is a trapezoid. Find the measurement of all four angles. Okay, this time it's not isosceles. It is not isosceles. So we're going to have to use that whole 180 rule. Okay, so this side over here, A and D will add up to 180. B and C will add up to 180. Okay, so B and C will add up to 180. Now, let me just I know I said it before for number 11, but let me prove it to you a little bit better, hopefully, for this problem. Here's blue, I guess. So I'm just going to do that little method we were talking about yesterday. Oops, did not mean to do that. All right. So I'm going to take this angle, put it over here. I'm going to take this angle, turn it around. Okay. And then put it over there. And see, when I put the angles back to back, they make a straight line right there. So that proves that when you add them up, they equal 180. All right. So I'm going to take that 9x minus 1. That's 7x plus 5. Okay, and that equals 180. So again, this is part plus part equals 180. You just got to figure out which parts you're going to use. Just to further my point a little bit, if you take this angle, so if I take that angle again, and get rid of that and that. So the 9x minus 1 and the, let's just say B. And if you try to add those two to make 180, some of you are already seeing where I'm going with this. I really hope so, because these are both obtuse angles and that would be impossible. But let's give it a go. I'm going to take that angle. I'm going to take that angle. So look, when I put them next to each other, they're way too big. Okay, so let me rotate this a little bit and try to put them next. Okay, so I put them side by side. That's not a straight line. That's well beyond a straight line. You see what I'm saying? So that's not going to work. You can't put two obtuse angles together and make 180. That's not how that works. All right, just had to make that point. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this thing. You could type it into nsolve, or you could solve it like I'm about to right now. Say 9 plus 7 is, what's that, 16? X, negative 1 plus 5 is 4, equals 180. Subtract 4 from both sides. We get 16x equals 176. And that should be, what, 11? Okay, so if you divide both sides by 16, sorry. All right, so now we have x equals 11. Plug that thing back in. Don't be that person that always forgets. All right, so we got 9 times 11, that's 99. Minus 1, that's 98 degrees. Then we got 7 times 11, that's 77. Plus 5 should be 82, I believe. Double check that real quick. 98 plus 82 is, yeah, 180. So those are good. All right, now we got 10 times 11. It's 110. Plus 10 is 120. Then we got 6 times 11, 66. Minus 6 is 60. And yes, 120 plus 60 is 180, so we are good. All right, so angle A, 98 degrees. Angle B, 120 degrees. Angle C is 60 degrees. Angle D is 82 degrees. All right, and you can do number 14 the same way. I know it looks different. Calm down, relax. Just add this one plus this one and make it equal 180. And since this is an isosceles trapezoid, angle C and angle D are equal to each other. So whatever you get for angle D, put it for angle C as well. Angle A and angle B are equal to each other. So whatever you get for angle B, put it for angle A as well. Number 15. Okay, so this time we have some coordinate geometry. Okay, so it says find the endpoints of MN. So this line here, or segment, okay, M is in the middle of it because that's how mid-segments work. The endpoints of a mid-segment are going to be in the middle of the side. All right, so we're going to use the midpoint formula. Do you remember it? So for midpoint formula, I don't know, I'll just write it down here. So we have x1 plus x2 over 2, and then y1 plus y2 over 2. So we're trying to find the middle. Okay, so that's the midpoint formula. Okay. All right, so for M, it's between B and A. So I'm going to have the first x, which was -2, the second x, which is 4. Doesn't really matter which order you put them in. And then for the y's, 2, and then -4 divided by 2. So again, we had the x here and here. Then we have the y's here and here. All right, and just simplify those fractions, and that'll be it. So if I type, let's see, -2 plus -4 over 2 into my calculator. You know what, let me do it because I don't trust y'all. I know it's been a hot minute since we've done midpoint. Okay, so now we're not solving for x. Don't use nsolve. Do not use nsolve unless you're solving for x. All right, so we have -2 plus -4. Then we have over 2. That's -3. Okay, so you see how I did that? And I'm going to do the second one separately. 2 plus -4 over 2. Hit enter, and then we see that. Okay? So we have -3, -1. So that'll be -3, -1. Boom. All right, so we're going to do the same steps for n. Okay, all right, so for n, we're going to use the x values 2 and 4. So that's going to be 2 plus 4 over 2. Then we're going to use the y values 4 and 0 over 2. And then type it in your calculator. Make sure you do each fraction separately. So do the first fraction, hit enter, and you should get, what's that, 6, 3. And then do the second fraction, that should be 2. All right, and there you go. Same thing for number 16, yeah? So try that on your own. And now you should be done with this whole thing. Congratulations.